Okay, welcome. Today I wanted to offer some reflections about childhood trauma and forgiveness. I wanted to talk a little bit about forgiving those who have abused us or there's been trauma in our life. And also I want to talk today about forgiving ourselves and the importance of that. Okay, so today I wanted to talk a little bit about forgiveness. I did a video probably a few years ago about forgiving our abusers, and there were a few comments underneath of people saying, that seems totally wrong, you shouldn't be forgiving them. And so I want to go into a little bit more depth about why forgiveness is important and how I found it very useful in my own life. So I think for me, forgiveness, the first thing to really understand, the basic principle, is it's not to do with the other person. Sometimes we really get stuck on that if I forgive them, then I'm saying what they did was okay. No. A lot of the books and research on this is, there's a guy called Stan, I've forgotten his name, Fred Luskin, talks about this in her book, Martyrs Shine Off Happy for No Reason. And he's from Stanford University Forgiveness Project. And he talks about this idea that you're not condoning what the other person has done. You're not saying that's okay. What you're doing is it's to do with you. And I love the teaching from Buddhism. The Buddha talks about when we're carrying anger, it's like we're carrying the hot coal and we're expecting it to burn the other person. We're angry at them, but it's burning us. So he says we need to put the anger down. We need to put the hot coal down. It's the same with, forgiveness. The hatred, the anger towards that other person, it's hurting us. It's burning us. So it's really important for us to go, okay, yeah. I let go of my hatred, my resentment towards them because it's hurting me. It's, they're not probably even aware. I think often when abusers, the priest who sexually abused me was like, yeah, it's forgiving him. Not because of him. I'm sure he's not even aware because he abused so many people of my feelings or what he did to me. But I can forgive him. I can let go of that hatred. And, another level to this, I was reading the Dalai Lama's book, Mathieu Ricard, who is the translator, also a Tibetan monk who wrote the book Happiness. He says similar thing. It's like, have compassion. Let our hearts melt. May that person not suffer. And also may we not suffer. So I think that's the second level of it, is often, obviously my work is with boarding school and around childhood trauma, and often something happens to us. So for me, I chose to go to boarding school. I hated myself for that. It was my choice. I decided to go. And part of the healing journey has been learning to forgive myself. I used to self-harm. I've tried to commit suicide. Forgiving myself for doing that. Really feeling, I'm really sorry that I did that. And learning to forgive ourselves. Because I see that, especially with childhood trauma, when I was talking to Richard Grannon on my podcast about complex PTSD, is the inner critic. We're so hard on ourselves. We've been so hateful. And actually, when we learn to forgive ourselves, go, for me, I chose to go to boarding school because it was pretty horrible being at home. It's not to blame myself, it's like to forgive. Okay. And so start to let that go. Or maybe you were a bully at school, or you did something, you've done something in the relationship. Is to forgive yourself and then set an intention. I will do better next time. Set a vision for what you would like to be doing. So I think these are just some points here. So yeah, also another level to this, especially if your childhood trauma, is parents. Often it's learning to forgive our parents, and sometimes that's quite difficult to do. Sometimes we justify, oh well, they were just doing their best, but we've got to really feel as well. Feel the anger, feel it, transmute it, and then we can move into forgiveness, forgiving them. Yeah, also Fred Luskin in that book, he also talks about that when we forgive, we're much healthier, we're much happier, we're stronger. Because otherwise it's like we're holding that resentment. You know, and I've shared in a video, and I'll put it, link it at the bottom, is when we stay in victim. You know, we don't want to forgive and we stay in victim. But our lives are devastated by this. Whereas actually if we learn to forgive, then we can move on. Again, it's not condoning them, and it's not about them, it's about us. It's about returning back into joy, returning back into love, returning back into compassion, joy. That we can do this, and we can. You know, another level to this, especially if we look at the boarding school model, is that it's around betrayal trauma. And often, if we've been through boarding school, a lot of people, they break the attachment with their parents, but they attach themselves to the institution. So even though the institution might have done horrific things, there's a Jennifer Freyd proposed this idea about betrayal, and this thing of betrayal blindness. We can't see what they've done. We go, oh no, that was fine, they didn't mean to, or whatever. But therefore we can't really forgive until we feel. I remember when I first came across the idea of boarding school, and I came across a couple of books by old boys from my school, and they said some quite powerful things that made me question what happened at this school. And as I started to connect over the coming weeks, I started to realize how much anger and hatred I had for this school. It was like, gosh, so angry. You know, this was about 25 years ago, about 21 years ago. And so I broke that betrayal blindness that I couldn't see before. It was, the school was amazing. Then it was like, oh, actually, no, it wasn't. So I've got to feel it. And then once you feel it, then you can forgive. But I think that's the next stage, is like, we've got to feel this upset, feel this pain, and then we've got to forgive them from there. So yeah, just some ideas. I hope that's clear. Tomorrow night I'm doing a men's circle around boarding school, and we're talking about forgiveness. So this is present in my mind at the moment. So, you know, I'll send out an email about that. If you're not on the list, I'll send that out about 5 o'clock tomorrow. So, and this is the 17th of October today. So if you want to join, please do. Podcast wise, if you've not seen Sarah Ockwell Smith's podcast about childism, really recommend it, especially if you're interested in childhood trauma and also boarding school. She talks quite a lot about this amazing interview. She's a leading parenting author. She's written 14 books. They're really great to listen to her. Next week I'm talking to Marcus Gottlieb, who is a psychotherapist, to talk about homosexuality in boarding schools. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, any questions, please do let me know. And yeah, thank you so much for your time.